I'm so excited. And Audrey is in Florida today, and she is joining us today. Oh my God, it was so weird. I was trying to like see you, and I couldn't find you, and I didn't know if I was live or not, or what was going on.
I know.
So
I was like going, am I doing something wrong? And I
no, no,
texted
no.
you. It's like, I'm here. I'm ready.
Right. It wasn't you, believe me. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was. It's kind of funny. Usually I get like, people popping in and I could see their names coming in, but
Yeah.
it's weird. Anyways, it's all good. Audrey, thank you so much for
Oh,
joining us today. I'm so excited that you're here. You're not only an incredible artist, but you're a teacher. You have a beautiful soul. I can now call you my friend and hopefully a mentor. And you're just an being, and I'm so lucky that you decided to join this army of artists.
well, thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here and uh, share my story and how I got here. And it's a long journey, but I'm excited about sharing it.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us, Audrey, I guess your full name and where are you and where do you work?
Okay. I am Audrey Phillips, and I live in Central Florida, and I work in my home studio.
Uh, it's good that you have it right there and very accessible, right?
Yes, very much so. Except that I
So,
like to get out of my four wall. I know. I was like, let's just dump the interview. I just want to say hello to everybody.
oh yeah, just please do. I know everybody's saying hi, I love you. So that's really great. So Audrey, has COVID affected you in your process and your way of thinking? How is that going for you?
Yes, obviously it has. I have painted some. Um, we had our interview scheduled right after Memorial Day, and then the whole George Floyd thing happened, which really affected me, and I know it affected you. Um, and so since then, I've really reflected back on all of this, and there's so much to say about it. We couldn't even fit it into this interview, but I think that what my hope is that will come out changed from all of this. I know I am, and I'm really actually appreciative of the time that I've had to learn new things, to think about and self-reflect on how this has affected, you know, um, me and my family and all of our friends. Um, and this opportunity here, I mean, I think like with anything, I was teasing you the other day because it's like you were pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And I think that's what's happening with COVID too. We all get pushed out of our comfort zone, but we're learning stuff. We're learning about ourselves. We're having time to self-reflect. We're having time to create. So there's, as they say, there is good coming from this.
100%. I think that this time is a time of reflection. It's a time to be quiet and to listen and to understand and to have conversations and to learn to be a better person, and to have a more understanding and have an open conversation. But more than anything, I think it's the time to really, really listen.
Yes. And
So,
both internally and externally.
right,
Really
100%.
meaningful conversations as well as contemplative reflections within yourself. I agree.
So, Audrey, tell us a little bit about your childhood, how you started in this journey, and all the way up to college, I guess.
Okay. um, I was born in Mississippi and did not live there very long, but traveled back a lot to see family. So um, that was an interesting and very colorful experience. But when I was one, my dad moved us to the panhandle of Florida, which was completely different.
Yes.
Very beautiful. We spent our weekends on the water on our boat, which highly influenced my painting practice. The favorite thing that I would do would be go, you know, out to where we couldn't see a horizon line and jump into the water and just feel enveloped by this force that was so alive and so much bigger than me, and everything was beautiful under there. So I I draw on that when I paint. So that's where I went to high school, and then from there I went to college at University of Florida and majored in art. Started in art, stayed in art. And so my last year, I focused on design. So I became a graphic designer.
Oh,
Little
wow. So you
bit.
got it like a double major, pretty
No,
much?
it's the
No.
same. It's just that there's an emphasis at the end. You spend
Okay.
your first 3 years just a regular Bachelor of Fine Arts, and then on your senior year, you decide whether you're going to go into printmaking or painting or design. So it was really a tough course,
Oh,
very
I'm
demanding,
sure.
and
It-
very mean teacher. But I
I'm
got he was tough, and actually in the end it's good, but he was quite abusive. And after I got out of college and I found a job, I thought, hey, this is a piece of cake. I don't have somebody abusing me, and and I'm getting paid. So,
So, what kind of job did you find?
well, I worked in a couple of ad agencies, and which was really great experience. Not quite a good fit for me. If you've watched the series Mad Men, it was very much that. It was very male dominated. Um, anyway, so then I was living in South Florida. I moved up here to be with my family because everybody all of a sudden ended up in Orlando. And I found a job at the local newspaper here, the Orlando Sentinel. And so I went into corporate. And, normally when you think about putting an artist into a corporate environment, it's like, ooh, it will never work. But I got so lucky. I was hired as an artist. I became art director. Became creative director. And then at the end, I managed a group of probably about 11 or 12 creatives. And it was just fascinating. We had a lot of money, and when I think back on it, it's like, oh my God, I was 20 something years old, and they were giving me these huge budgets to fly to New York and produce TV spots, and it's like, geez,
And you had like 12 people under you, is that right?
yeah, yeah, photographers, copywriters, videographers, the whole team of artists. So it was great because it allowed me, I learned about, managing and teamwork. I think intuitively I knew how to motivate creatives because I was one. And so I was my employees' greatest advocate in getting the environment that we needed to be as creative as possible. And we really achieved that. We won lots of awards, and it just was a fabulous, the team of people that I work with, most of us are still connected. It was,
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it was a close family. It was hard to leave there
Oh,
because of that.
but I'm sure this gave you so many uh, good structure and dedication and showing up and responsibility and knowing that you can give direction to others. Because then after that, I mean, after a few years, you became a teacher. So it was like a natural procession for you, I would say.
Yeah, there was a big time gap in between there of about 20 years. But when I did start teaching, it just all of a sudden it kind of felt natural, and I connected it with the work that I did there, and the things that I learned there, and the training that they gave me. So it was really a great experience.
So can we talk about that gap that you took and why you stopped working there?
Sure. It was a family tragedy that happened. And it was probably about my 8th year into my career at the newspaper, and my mother was murdered. And
Oh,
the team there, knew exactly what to do when I got back. They put me on this really huge project, and they knew how much I loved my work, and they figured that, it was really heartwarming because I could tell how much time, and they had talked about how to bring me back into that environment. And, I just got back into it and worked really hard on this large project, which was great for a while. You can't
can
run.
I just say I'm so, so sorry that you went through that. It's so, what a tragic, horrible experience you must have had at that time. I mean, at any time, but you were
Yeah.
young.
Yes. Yeah. I was about 32 at the time.
Yeah,
Um, and so it, it's a life changer, and it also, it's a soul changer. You question everything about your life and your belief system. And hold on, my little phone keeps going out. Um, Question your belief system that you were brought up on, and that's exactly what I did. It took me about 2 weeks to figure out that I'm on a journey. I'm going to find what I need to heal from this. And I was very determined in that search. So that's when I started doing yoga and got introduced to meditation, along with all the crying and screaming and working through the family dynamics. When your mom is gone, you have to totally, the structure of the family changes. So,
completely.
yeah, so I kind of went on a journey. I should have.
Oh,
Um, so I went on a journey, and it started with the yoga and then with the meditation. And it took me about 10 years to kind of feel like I was finally healed. And the end of that was my friend Melanie, who lived in New Mexico, invited me out and wanted me to come and do a weekend of creative work, because she had been to this creative seminar. So I came out there, we rented this cabin in the woods. We brought all kinds of art supplies. Well, I hadn't painted, or I haven't done anything like that. I'd been, doing my corporate job and in design and working on the computers and, fighting to get the computers for the artists. And, but that was a life-changing weekend. And something happened to me. Something came through me, and it was a force that is just undeniable. And I started creating all of these pieces, and I probably created about 30 during that weekend. And that was the start of my art career. Although I had no idea that I was going to have a career from this, I was doing it to heal. That was my, it's like a visual journaling.
so what did you paint at that point? How were you healing yourself? What were you looking for?
Uh, I was looking for my mom. Really, I wanted to find my mom. I mean, I knew what had happened to her. I saw her. I saw it all, but I wanted to know where her spirit was, and so that was the search. So,
I know I asked you to bring some samples,
yeah.
and Audrey, I took her out of her comfort zone completely, and now she's going to share something that she's never really shared before, but she's ready to share it with the world. So, Audrey, can you please share your
Yeah.
initial paintings that you did, where you started
Yeah.
to find yourself back?
But when we spoke yesterday, I didn't even know if I had these. So when we hung up, I went and looked for them and found them. And so grateful that I have kept these all these years. I'll never get rid of them. But a few of these have never been shown. So I'll just you know, you can see too. It's like
Yeah.
they're so very, very raw. So this is one.
Yep. So
So to
you're almost
me,
kind of back in the womb of your mom or trying to
that,
protect yourself.
yeah, and just the aloneness and the grief of, you know, when you go through that kind of grief, any kind of grief really is a very private process.
Yeah.
Even though your family's there and your friends are there and they're grieving too, none of us are doing it in the same way. Everybody
Right.
has their own process of getting through tough times
Right.
like this.
Yes.
And I mean, I think it's even happening with COVID within the families. Everybody has a different way. So I think it's really forced a lot of people that are living in a family environment to communicate more.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, I was listening to this economist and he says, don't waste a good, you know, a good pandemic or a good catastrophe.
Yeah.
And so,
People are asking me if it gets frozen, you just, you can pop out and come back again and then it will unfreeze. But you and I, we see each other perfectly fine. So let's just keep going. And if you probably are not connected to a Wi-Fi or whatever, this glitches happen all the time. So
okay.
don't worry. You and I are fine. It's other people that maybe are having some glitches, but it's okay. We're good. Yep.
Okay, so that was the first one. And then one of the things that really hit me is that, you know, I started drawing faces. And why was I drawing faces? And I figured out that when I looked at myself in the mirror after this happened, I could not understand how I looked the same. I I did not feel the same. I felt like my face should be brutalized because that's how I felt inside. So that was what I was drawing, was faces, and they were all very raw and just rough and very expressive of that. So this piece is one, and so this is split right down the middle. You know, I think that this is like, okay, here I am, normal. This is what I really feel like.
Wow.
Yeah,
So powerful.
that's one of them.
Wow. It's almost like you want to cover one side of your face, you know, and not see or touch what you were feeling almost.
So I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah. Can you? No, no, you're all good. Yeah, you're good. It
Okay,
looks great. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Here's another one.
Wow. Yeah, you can see the search. You can totally see the search. Oh,
Yeah.
how long ago were these made, Audrey?
Well, you know, I found dates on them, and they were um, October 24th, 99. And I think that was the weekend that I was there with my friend Melanie. And so, like, this is kind of a progressive process. It took me 10 years. So these were the first two were the beginning. This, you know, may have been 3 years later. And this may have been 5 years later. So they kept developing. Here's another. So
Wow.
still an incredible amount of sadness, you know, that I see in the eyes.
Yes, the eyes are so expressive,
Yeah.
and it's almost like you still are searching to find yourself in that image, and you're still distorting yourself
Yeah.
in a way. So did you go back and forth to New Mexico to find that renewed energy and to heal yourself? You think that you felt going back was doing something bigger than you thought it would?
Oh, definitely. I was very aware of how connected I was to the land there. And so I would go 2 or 3 times, you know, if I was lucky, 3 times a year. And, you know, I was fortunate because my best friend lived there.
Right.
So it was a really, wonderful time. And she was very much a part of that process. And that travel back and forth was very much part of the process.
So when did you actually jump now from figurative to a whole different, you almost turned 150 degrees when when you started this abstract, very different you.
Yeah. Well, let me show this one final one because
Oh, for sure. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
it's okay. I don't know. It's bigger than you
Oh,
can see.
oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
It. So I felt like when I got to this place with this piece, there was
That's drawn on what? On paper? What is
this
that?
is on clayboard.
Oh, on clayboard. Wow. And what material did you use on that?
I drew some and erased some
Yeah, I can tell.
with graphite and water, just washed. I washed with acrylics.
Yeah.
Um, the whole time you're doing some, you're going through a grief process like this. Somebody said, people will say something good will come from this. When you're in the middle of it, you want to kind of smack somebody because, you just feel so alone in the process. But recently I heard somebody say that our greatest gifts lie right next to our deepest wounds. And so that really, really resonated with me because I feel like that's exactly like there is this power in us to transform that grief into you becoming somebody completely different, and finding a gift that's laying there right next to the wound. And I loved that
I
saying.
love
I
that. And
wish,
you really did find that gift. You
yeah,
really did because you turned it completely,
yeah.
around. And so tell us a little bit about that shift that we were talking about, that shift that you with your paintings today and then.
Well, for about 5 years, I had a foot in both. I was
Yeah,
still painting the faces because um, it's what I had done for 10 years.
right.
And at some point, probably, I can't even remember the year, maybe 2006 or so, 2005, a friend of mine that lived in New Smyrna invited me over. She says, I think you might want to meet this teacher, Steve Imony. And so I came over and I took one of Steve's workshops, and um, they were very encouraging. They really wanted me to paint abstract and big, how that goes. And my friend Jean Baines stopped in and she pulled out, I didn't have anything big. So she came in and set up a board and put out a big old piece of paper. She goes, now do something big. So that was kind of a really powerful moment for me. So,
I remember the first time I did his workshop, I was so unprepared. Everyone came out and everybody had so much canvas and they went through canvases and canvases and I brought my little canvas and then I was done the first day. No materials left. And I was in New Smyrna and I'm like, oh my God, now what? So
no,
trial and error and you learn.
yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
Well, that was like the start of the beginning of the abstract work. And I had a foot in both for a couple of years and remember making that decision. It's like, I'm taking all these faces off of my website. I am an abstract painter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So, why don't we start looking at your abstract work and talking about it? So I know you're going to take your phone off the tripod and turn around the camera so you can really show us your work. I'm going to turn off the comments and then I'm going to turn them on at the end. So people, if you have questions, please remember them and share them with us at the end.
Okay.
So
I'm going to say something real quick before I show these first two pieces,
please do.
because they came at a year when I had just started teaching and I was traveling and teaching a lot and also had a solo show. I think I bit off more than I can chew, but when I finally had, like 3 months to paint for this solo show, I came to the studio and it was like stuff was everywhere. So much paint, buckets and buckets of brushes, and I thought, oh my God, there's just so much clutter. What, I'm just gonna, so I said, okay, Audrey, just keep this simple, keep it simple. And so I cleaned off all my table. I went through and I picked like 15 tools and brushes that were my favorites. And if you do this, if you go through everything that you've got, you know what your favorites are and what works for you. So I picked my 15, and the other 3 buckets of brushes and tools went in a closet, never to be seen again while I was working on this body of work. I did the same with my palette. So I was very intentional, mainly because I was panicked. So I thought, I'm just going to keep this simple. And that keep it simple ended up becoming one of the philosophies that I teach in my workshops, which we'll talk about later. And the other thing that came from that, I thought, if I just work with what I've got, I'm really going deeper instead of wider. I'm not like reaching out to try to find other things. I wanted to go inward. And so that going deep instead of wide became another philosophy that I taught with, because it worked for me. It worked for me in this, and it still does. So
Yeah, and we'll go in deeper.
yeah.
We'll go in deeper with that, because your 5 philosophies are really incredible. So,
Hey, let me move my chair around here.
okay, perfect.
So this is one that has been painted since COVID. And this is similar to what I created when I kept it simple. And so what my intention was here is I wanted to bring white space into these pieces and not cover everything. So you can see down here, using the white to bring in the light.
Yeah.
And also very intentional with the mark making, that I would go in and make a mark and then step back and just sit and look at it for a while. I wouldn't stay right in front of the canvas, because normally that's what I do, is like I'll get in, I'll move in, and I'll spend some time in front of the canvas. This was kind of, I'm going to move in and out very intentionally and taking breaths.
You can tell that. You can tell that you had this constant, communication with it. And even though you call it simple, I call it a little more than simple. I would say it's a little more complex, and it has a lot of layers. And the mark making is, like you said, it's very intentional, but it always has a rhythm. So you are having a rhythm. It's almost like listening to music when you're painting, and it feels like you're listening to classical music, and your movements are just very natural, and you're moving, at that rhythm of the music, with a very just lovely result, because you can breathe, it feels really good. It makes you feel good.
Thank you. Well, and the keep it simple doesn't necessarily relate to the painting. It's more about the process for me when I set out to do those.
Yeah.
The simple
Right.
part was me setting the intention and really trying to stick to it and to use my palette. It was the process that I wanted to make simple, not necessarily the paintings.
Yeah.
So then
Oh, wow.
is a larger piece. It's hard to fit in on these.
That's okay. That's perfect. We see it completely there.
And this was created, I was actually painting at ACA, right? Let's see, this was probably in December. So this one is very loose. And I was looking at it, like this right here. You can tell that this has been turned. This was positioned in a different way at one time, and then it's been flipped. But I love that, because I will turn my canvases, not necessarily to paint on them differently, but when I turn them, I see things differently.
Well,
Um,
and this one almost feels like it, the horizon line is way on the top, and then,
yeah,
it almost looks like it's a water reflection. It has, you have this quality of Monet-ish kind of like just the water and the lilies and the greenery and in a very natural way. It just comes out, your palette, your selection of color. It's just so beautiful for the eye, and it's not like you have one focal point. It makes you look around, and that, white corner, it makes you breathe. And so I really enjoy and love this one.
thank you. I love the freshness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, I love, that's one of the things that I love to do is like to have all of this cluster of activity next to, an open space.
Yeah. And I think that's part of your meditation and your breathing because you can tell. When we have our stomachs like in a knot, you can tell.
Oh, this is the piece that I created during COVID. And one of the things that I did is work a lot in my garden. And so I think this is very inspired by those first couple of months, March and April, when it wasn't so darn hot in Florida, and working out in the yard and planting new flowers and seeing new growth. So,
And also, again, tightening your stomach, then breathing and tightening it again. So you have the heavy part on the bottom, and then you have the breathing space, and then a heavier on the top.
yeah, I like your words.
Thank you. Coming from you, it's a compliment.
Um, One of the things that we talked about is the small space that I work in. So I wanted
Yeah.
the bigger paintings. This painting that's in the back is obviously not all being seen, but it's about a 5 foot high by 6 foot wide.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty big.
yeah, and I'll show another that's 6 foot by 6 foot that was painted in my studio here, which is probably about a 12 by 13 space.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I painted on
You,
the floor. Yeah.
you're going to show us that because her studio is incredible how she has been able to maneuver a small space, and you guys can learn from that.
Yeah. So it's hard to get all of this in here, but
No, you can see all the mark making and the conversations that you have. It's just, yeah, beautiful. And again, you have a limited palette here, and it works really well. It's very successful.
it's I love all these little, got some little marks.
Yeah, I love that. They're your little conversations, your little community of people.
And I love this white on white effect. We forget there's so many different tones of white, and I mean, they just,
They look yummy. Yeah, it's great.
and this is just a one that's over the fireplace. It's got a lot of, yeah,
Mark making again,
yeah, this I just,
Yeah.
the mark making is just,
And some of them is raw and some of them is more detailed. And I think the balance of the two work out so nicely
yeah,
because not everything has to have a very detailed finished look. I love the roughness of it. I love raw. I love not thinking about it and just placing it and maybe, having your brush just dried up and use that.
yeah, real scratchy kind of surfaces.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I started introducing this kind of linear undertone at the bottom here and these little boxes, which I thought were kind of fun.
Yeah. But you're getting out of the box. Like today.
Yeah, Sandra's making me get out of the box. Well, see this, but this is the one that I was telling you that's like 6 by 6. And this is what
Wow.
you have a home studio is that, you have to find a place to store all of it.
Thank God you have walls at least on that side of your rooms that
Yeah.
you can view. That's so beautiful. It almost looks like a lot of water went in and you let it dry out and you let it just have its own borders and work
Yeah,
from there?
this is the heavy canvas. This was not intent. I didn't buy the canvas to paint on it. I bought this really heavy cotton duck canvas to put on my floor in the studio. And it's so heavy, it lays really flat. It doesn't, crinkle. And so this was painted on the floor. And so in a lot of these situations, water was sprayed and then the water was then put
Soaked in
the
into the
on,
canvas, into the cotton canvas.
pardon?
It was soaked into the cotton canvas.
Yes. And then, a lot of down on your hands and knees and really interacting with the piece. Um,
That's why it's so good, Audrey, that you do yoga because your core is is strong to work on the floor.
a lot of up and down, spotting, and it's, yeah.
Yeah. So can you show us where you actually work?
Yeah, so this is the room where I work. And so this is just the computer over here. So it really kind of ends right here. And this is that heavy canvas.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to put
Wow.
the link to the place I got that in
Yeah.
Cal.
Yeah, I'm going to send you guys, I'm going to put it down underneath Audrey's interview, all her materials, so you guys can see it.
So
And
once it was down here, there was just a little place to walk uh, all the way around.
yeah.
Uh, who was it?
And
Oh,
almost like you have more command sometimes when it's on the floor because you stand up and you have control over it and you can see it from a whole different point of view than being working on a wall.
yeah, we talked about that, that just came up in the conversation, like how, your body works. And so much of this, all of this work comes from your body. And so when you're standing face to face, it's really conducive to like start to have this conversation with your painting, like as if you're standing in front of a friend and you're talking back and forth. When you're painting on the floor, you're standing above it and it's on the ground and you have like a presence over it. So it gives you power. So I love painting on the ground for that reason, but also, I have to get down on my hands and knees and crawl across that canvas. And so
Yeah.
then it becomes very intimate. It's just a different, your work is going to be different because you're approaching the canvas with your body in different ways.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So let's talk about your system there that you built there. That's incredible. What
Yeah.
can you
This,
show us that?
yeah. Let me pull this back a little bit. I'm going to move my chair completely so you can see.
Okay.
This is a easel, a wall easel that was custom built because when I moved in back into my house, I realized I didn't have a solid wall out here. Everything
Right.
is windows. So a friend recommended, he said, "Oh, I can build you an easel. Look for some plans online." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I started looking, and through my research, I found Jason Tuller, and he's at, you can find him at Paperbird Studios.
Which I will also give you the link if you're interested. But this is such a fabulous, like brilliant solution for people that don't have big walls and want to work big. It's just brilliant. It really truly is.
It is, and he's such a perfectionist, and he'll tell you where the forest that the wood came out of. And he created this. I've only got two masked up right now, and those are two 40 by 40 paintings. But if I bought two more masked and put them towards the ends,
Yeah.
fit two 60 by 60s on this
Wow.
wall. So he worked it out and he knew that I wanted to paint big. So once he got all of my measurements and the photos of the room, he sent me plans and
That's incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. All right, Audrey, let's put you back on the tripod so I can see your beautiful face
Let me
and
get,
talk about you know, your five things that you have thought of and now you preach them as a teacher because I think they're fabulous.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, the first one is keep it simple. And so at the workshop, you know, when the students get there, I ask them to keep their table clean and don't put their supplies up there. Don't put their brushes up there. And then we slowly start to integrate those things so that they're not starting the week off in clutter. And also in keeping it simple, we start with a very limited palette. I ask that everybody just work in black and white and maybe one color. And that's to keep it simple, but it's also that's where you can really see your composition. You know, the minute you start throwing color, it's intoxicating and it's seductive, but it's also confusing to the eye. So I really like for people to work in black and white and stay there for a while. And I think that's really where you learn composition the best. So
I agree. And you know, it's black and white, grays, white. I mean, there's so much, you know, people say black, gray, and white, but they don't know the gamut of it, right? You can go crazy on one side, on the other, and the amount of different mixtures of paint that you can get in color, saturation. I mean, it's incredible. So it's not just, you know, working with three colors. It's really like opening up this whole new thing. So,
yeah.
and it's amazing.
Yeah, well, there's a color demo that I do, and everybody has to mix their own black and even mix a white, you know, that gives you a tone that you're looking
right
for, whether it's cool or warm, and then start mixing from there using your own custom, you know, I call it Audrey's custom black. That's what my jar is like. But I love my black, you know.
I know.
So day 2 is go deep, not wide. And I think that one of the reasons that I came to that was because I had so much clutter. And I think that we have culture clutter. You know, our culture is just set up to entice you. There's always 10 million things out there to, you know, that you want to buy or you want to try, especially with art supplies. And so I thought, you know, when I was doing that solo show, I thought, you know, I'm just going to work with what I've got. Let's see what happens if I just work with what I got, because I didn't have time to go get new art supplies and experiment with them. I needed to get to work. So through that process, I really gained a lot because I thought, you know, the outcome was so successful, and I didn't get caught up in, you know, the clutter of social media, you know, of just looking and looking and looking. You know, I think that really can affect us and can harm our work if we don't manage that. Not that we shouldn't be looking at great art, but
right. And I think that you and I talked about you know, the American culture about having all these options, right? And it can be so good, but at the same time, not so great. So, you know, that goes across the board on anything. You go to the art supply and there's 100 different yellows that you can get, you know, a whole different brands here and there and whatever. And so if you try to make it narrower for yourself and simpler for yourself, you don't need to buy the 24 case of paints. You know, you can do so much with 5, right? And so, and sometimes you just need to be very conscious about it and not get overwhelmed by all the noise and all the choices that we have. And I think by narrowing it down, and teaching people to narrow it down, I think you get more conscious in everything in life and make it more simple for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It gives you open space to breathe and think and, you know, look and ponder and all of those things.
Right.
You know, you think about the amount of time it takes to get involved in social media, and all that time is precious. That's really what we've got, you know.
And energy.
Yes. Yes, and energy. But also the go deep and not wide for me is about the meditation and using meditation when I teach every day begins with meditation. Not a real long, don't want people to think that we're sitting there meditating for an hour. But it is a meditation followed by writing your intention for the day and writing your gratitudes. I think all of those are really powerful ways to get in touch with yourself, create that space that you're wanting to bring into the studio, and just go a little bit deeper. So that was
Love
day
that.
2.
Day 3?
Yeah, so day 3, as everybody knows, or all the artists knows, that's usually the day that everybody hits the wall. You've been working so hard, you're so excited, and you're just so tired that, it's like just whatever's going to come out is going to come out. You kind of, it's almost that you do disconnect, which is
Right.
maybe a good thing at that point. You can't overthink stuff. So that one is less will and more wing. So it's like at some point, we find that we're leaning forward. We're rushing to try to finish our work. We're rushing to try to get it resolved. And it's like, wait, it's not just us here. The work is also a part of this. And it's, let it kind of set the pace, and to pull back and observe and ask yourself, okay, what's going on with me? Where is my energy? Am I frustrated? Is my critic out? Am I, pushing this faster than it needs to be pushed? So that is another thing that we talk about, is that there is the action of painting and there's the inaction of painting. And I think both have equal value. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the action of it and not allow yourself the time to sit back and look and develop your ability to look. I mean, I think that just like we start to create a language through our action on the canvas, I think that we need to learn our language of the inaction, of actually looking and
Oh, I love that. I love that so much, because I think at that third day, our judgment comes in.
yeah,
And so unfortunately, we get to be very hard on ourselves, and then we get very frustrated.
yeah, yeah. Day 3, people are producing work. You're taking breaks and walking around, and it's challenging. Workshops are intense because of that, and our painting practice. I mean, I still believe that this process will teach me and teach any artist everything that you need to know about yourself. Because
100%.
you jump into the fire when you start getting off track. That's why I want to create that space. If we don't get firm and understand what our work is about to us and within us, we're going to stay in that place. And I don't think any of us want to be there. I think we're wanting to, take that time to lean back and look and really start to fine tune that process of looking. But the process of looking is also the process of your internal dialogue.
Yes.
And, we're always working on that. And the less will, more wing is also about building trust and trust within ourselves, which is what, I think that a lot of us, just keep striving for. And it's a process, because you'll get so far and then you're going to do something different, and then you're going to
Right.
go through that process again.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I
Yeah.
mean, to me, that's the beautiful part of it, because we're wanting to continue to grow and we want to push ourselves. So we're wanting to lean forward sometimes.
So
But
what does day 4 look like then?
pardon?
What does day 4 look like then?
Day 4. Day 4 is the next day of the workshop, and that is always come from a position of strength. And if you see down below there, it's a fill in the blank. So it says, even though blank, I am confident blank. So,
Oops. Audrey got frozen for a minute. She'll come back. And someone is saying hi from Iceland. Hi, Iceland. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy you're here. Um, Audrey, hopefully there she is. All
um,
right, so we were at the blank.
yes, even though blank, I am confident blank. So even though, I've been working on this painting for a week, and I'm feeling not so good about it. I'm trying to figure out this process, but I'm not getting there. I'm confident that I will because I've done it many, many times before. And so it just helps to kind of bring you down, even though I am confident because we know that we will get out of the rabbit hole that we've dug for ourselves. And
It's
that
like
is,
that saying of this too shall pass. You
yes,
know, when
yeah,
you say that and you really truly believe it, I think that when you say that, I mean, you really have a resolution for it. So you're seeing something positive. You're not saying like, "Oh God, no, I'm not going to ever finish this. This is terrible."
yeah,
You're allowing yourself to say something positive about it.
yes. And it kind of renews it reminds you that, hey, I'm a strong person. I'm a strong artist. I can get through this.
Right.
And the difficulties along the way is the learning. That's the richness of it. That's the
100%.
mystery, because something very mysterious is going on when we paint.
Yes.
And, I don't know if I really want to, if you try to figure it out, you're probably not going to be successful because I think it is more of a spiritual alignment with that part of ourselves or the universe that's bigger than us. We're just trying to stay open.
100%.
Yeah, the resistance the minute that your brain goes into that conflict, you can feel the resistance in your body and you've cut off the creative flow. And so what we want is to always be open and to allow that to come through us. And if you think about when you're painting, I can look at that painting, that one that's really loose. I don't know how in the world I did that. I was just looking at it right before we started. I was like, God, how did I even do that? You
And
know,
you know, it's funny that you say that because we do that all the time. We love something and we're like, how did we do that? How did we start that? And you can never recreate it.
no, no, and you start again.
Then
And
you start again.
it's just like meditation. I'm thinking of something. Start again. Just breathe again. This is the same thing. It's just every new canvas, every new day is another opportunity to get into that space. And when that thought comes up, that's one way to kind of get it back down. Even though I'm stuck, I know that
Right.
I can go for a walk around the block and I'm confident that I'll come back and see this with new eyes. So
Correct.
that is like, it was, for me, that resonated because it wasn't an affirmation, how like just repeating affirmation after affirmation. This one kind of like works with your head to kind of reason you down a little bit. That it felt real to me that I could say,
Right.
even though this, I'm confident that, rather than,
Right. It's renewing your energy. It's feeding your soul with positive thoughts. That's what it is.
yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's talk about number 5 because we only have 5 more minutes left.
Okay, day 5 is the last day. And so it is do your 10,000 kicks. So this is from a quote by Bruce Lee. Of course, I'm going to have to read it backwards here, but it says, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So this is the going home message, and it's always the thing that everybody hates to hear, like, how do I get better? And it's like, do the work,
Yeah.
And it's all of this. And it's not just standing in front of the canvas. It's all of this mental work. It's all of this spiritual work. It's all of this, learning to trust yourself work that goes into this. So it's a very multi-layered process. And one that's so rich. Oh my God, you know, we are some of the luckiest people on the planet to be able to do this, I think. You know that.
I agree with you. I mean, we have an incredible community of artists. The people that are joining us today is our community of people that we love and respect. And thank you for joining us today, everyone. Audrey, I can't really thank you enough. This has been such a true, inspiring, incredible interview. You gave us so much food for our soul. And you know, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me, reach out to Audrey. We'll be happy to answer everything. And I will make sure to put everything that we really spoke about today.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Audrey, do you want to say a few final words here?
Well, I want to thank you, Sandra, for what you're doing. You just kind of jumped right in, and this thing has redirected your life, and you've inspired so many people, given us lots of opportunities to meet people and hear these interviews with other artists. And thank you for that. And if anybody does have any questions, again, if you want to contact me, I don't know if I put my email on there, but you can find it through
Your
you can
website.
reach me through Instagram.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
for being here, and thank you, everyone. And I have big news coming later today for all of you, and I'm excited to share those with you later around 3 o'clock or so. Stay tuned for that. And thank you for joining us on a special day on a Friday. So I'm dropping my son off tomorrow to college. So praying that everything goes well there. And
It will.
and yeah, so thank you, Audrey, for again for an incredible, beautiful, beautiful interview today. Can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Sandra.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.